The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Hello and welcome to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. That is me. And we are in Week 8 of the CFL, 7th game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, coming up this week on Thursday. Coach O, it's great to see you again, as always, man. How's this week of prep going?
Man, first of all, the weather's been amazing, and prep is going great. I know that's a general statement, but it's always good. The only way to fight through these sorts of things is to get out on the field and get better. So that's kind of why it's been great.
Yeah, it's great. And you're right, the weather has been fantastic. The can't ask for better than 75 and sunny as you're getting ready for a home game. You got to get tired of not only my question, but the question that you have to answer every day for our local media sources that, you know, it's one thing for prep to go well, but, you know, it's, of course, about winning, I guess. Is it disheartening, or does it get old having good, productive practices but not being able to get it done?
No, because, you know, you can't – I get it. You sign up for wins and losses, and there's always a test at the every week, and we have passionate fans, and I love that. And, you know, I'd love to go 15-3 every year. Absolutely. That's a lot of fun. But sometimes there's years you got to grind through, and this is no different. So you're not going to get any change in the demeanor. You know, you got everybody. There's coaches' cars I can't beat them in, and I've tried. Everybody's grinding and getting better. Yeah, so I don't mind it because it's part of the job. I don't think any less of anything, and I just think that people are passionate about the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and that's what I love about being a part of this organization.
Well, that's great, and there's still, you know, 1 in 5 is not what you thought was going to be the reality a third of the way through the season. But that said, there is still every single reason out there still to play, including the potential to be Grey Cup champions. Coach, we've heard the phrase, you know, not looking for moral victories a lot. You know, I've heard you say it. I heard Braylon Addison mention it earlier this week, and of course that's understandable. Obviously, the point is to win, but at the same time, I'm imagining being in your shoes, you can't ignore some of the good things that you're seeing from your team. I mean, you can't not point these out, right? I mean, it's easier to learn from the things that you've done well. It's easier to praise than it is to criticize. And, you know, especially coming out of BC, there was a number of them. Can you speak to some of the things that are going well right now, even though the record is not what you're hoped for?
Yeah, I think you know, the effort is outstanding. Like there's, you know, other people's bodies are on the ground. There's key plays that we emphasized that we wanted to make. There's key second down conversions that we made at over 50% clip. We were able to take the ball away. We did. There's just so many good things. We always do that. I think that's more for the outside. You know, let's just say what it is, and that is we understand that it's about wins and losses. You know, and it's to sit there and point out everything positive after a loss it gets lost in the interpretation. And you know, people tend to think that you're not taking things serious and that losing's okay. It's never okay. It's part of what we sign up for. That's just what it is. Half the teams in the league lose every week, and in any sport at any level, half the teams lose. That's just what sport is. And so I can always take positives because I know what we emphasize. The emphasis is on winning. But if that's how you're going to be defined, then when you lose, then what? You just quit? You know, I don't subscribe to that. You have to continually get better. Yeah, everybody has the answer. Everybody's favorite quarterback is the backup. Everybody's favorite play is the other one. And that's sport. That's fun. That's just why that's why they're, you know, fan is short for fanatic. And that's exciting. And that's just what you sign up for. But I don't get defined into that. We roll up our sleeves and go to work. And we've all, you know, done things in life that didn't go well or exactly the way you planned. You don't quit. You surround yourself with the right people that you want to grow through it with, and you go to work.
The BC game was different to me in a few key aspects, and as you watch that, I can think back to a list of things that the Ticats did well, and notably, I guess, maybe that they had changed, that they were doing poorly, and that your team sort of got corrected. I mean, they had more greater time of possession, more offensive plays, more first downs, more net offense, and that was against Nathan Rourke and a BC offense that's been very, very productive this year. I mean, that in one sense, other than the score, the offense beat the offense, and that's a little bit unusual. And again, the turnovers were not in the Ticats' favor, but those turnovers on downs, in my mind, kind of can skew some things sometimes. And they feel a little different than an interception and a fumble. And there was notable ones on for both teams in BC. But the good stands out in my mind in BC. And then, of course, it's still a 12-7 end. So if you had to point out a handful of plays or just a few things that led to that loss, because it's almost, my question is, it's harder to see those to me than it is in some of the games. And the reason why your team lost, is it easy for you to define that from the BC game? Yeah,
and unfortunately it's a cliche, and it is that football does come down to 4 or 5 plays or whatever, however many a given coach wants to say. And so you can those turnover on downs are crucial, because whether you score or not, you're still eating another minute and a half of the clock. Maybe it ends in a field goal, those type of things. So there's a couple second and longs that you'd like to get off the field. I thought, we stared at the quarterback in coverage, where basically we had good coverage, and then stared at the quarterback too long, and he was able to keep the drive alive, or the play alive. So those you just give me 2 on offense, 2 on defense, and then special teams wise, there's always we get on the right side of a block, and Woods is probably still running. He might be to Portland by now, right? But those are, if you want to pull a few plays, there's a few plays from each phase of the game, but that's football. And the fact that, as you said, I'm big on the defense, playing the other team's defense and so on. And I feel like the offense made some strides. We just need to make timely plays more consistently. We didn't have some timely plays. Very, specifically, since you want to talk a little bit about that, I thought being backed up with 1:40 to go, possibly before the half, where they could probably add to the lead. Well, we rattled off 2 first downs and then went across midfield and actually had a field goal attempt that ultimately was unsuccessful. That's growth for this football team. We've been many a times we were 2 and out and we punted, and now you're asking the D to not give them a first down, and they're punting the field goal. And, is that a win? No, but you talk about growth. We hadn't been that. So extremely proud. And then, the defense, came up big, a lot. And special teams stood up against, a good returner and the team that's playing very confident off of a bye week, and we're on a short week. So you can go on and on. It's got to be in the win column, Luke. We know that.
Yep. Offense taking some strides, and I agree. And it seemed like some, like you said, some maybe second down conversions and first down efficiency that wasn't, or that was greater than it has been in the first 5 games of the year. Everyone on the outside, of course, is in the dark about this. But when you take strides after bringing somebody like Khari Jones into the building, can you speak to maybe some of his involvement in last week's game and potentially what it's going to be like going forward?
Well, it's going to be an ongoing process. And when we brought him in, as a consultant, it was kind of introducing him to our environment, and also finding out how he viewed our environment and our culture, coaching against it, and game planning against it in regular season, but also a meaningful, Eastern semifinal game where it was an all or nothing thing. And, that's valuable. And so, I've enjoyed speaking to him. I know he spent time with Mark and he spent time with Tommy, and I alluded to that when he came on board, that this wasn't just, optically, he's going to get in there and coach the quarterbacks, or he's going to be the play caller. He's a valuable resource as somebody who's done it all. And so as far as that, he's observing practice, he's observing and listening to communication in game. And, as it goes along, he'll likely have a little bit more input. But what I've really been impressed with is him just wanting to see, how we do things and that versus saying, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. That's kind of not what it is. He's been a sponge, and he just has a real discernment about him, about, where to offer stuff and where maybe just to hold off for a little bit longer in certain situations.
Yeah, that's interesting. And from an outside perspective, it's just a fascinating storyline to see the impact that a guy like that might be able to have. And going in, of course, to Montreal or against Montreal this week at home on Thursday, anything extra that he's going to be offering for your purposes?
No, we most of it, in game is in game. I've always told him that he'll be able to, just talk to me about things that he's seeing or situations that I may overlook or those type of things, or what was he looking at. But we're pretty much in sync there. And, if his office is actually, kitty corner to mine. So he's a fake intercom away, if you will, where I can just give a little shout and he can do the same thing. But we've watched a little bit of tape together. So in game is ongoing from there. So nothing that would be terribly exciting to share right now, except for there's comfort there.
Sure. Cariel Brooks potentially healthy after having quite a battle with the injuries, but he's back in the lineup. Can you say what you're expecting about him, or what you're excited to see from Cariel being back in the lineup?
I think it's just exciting to have just his experience, his smile, his knowledge, his calmness. I just also want to say that I think Darby's done a fantastic job of stepping in there, in a role he probably hasn't played in several years, right? He's been more of a free Sam or a nickel type of guy. And so, it's, just Brooks, Cariel was, injured early in camp. Mm-hmm. And is unfortunate, and fortunately we had somebody with some experience that moved in there in Darby. So I was excited about that. But, it's Cariel's time to step up. As far as expectations, just to be himself, right? Don't go in there saying, oh, everybody expects you to have 2 picks and be this Eastern Division All-Star. All-Stars are votes. Go in there and do what you do, and when you have an opportunity to make a play, I'm definitely going to expect Cariel to make it.
Yeah, you're right. And Cariel, being himself, is the interception leader in the league last year, and tied, I think, for pass breakups too. So excited to see him back. And I agree. Also, Darby's name was brought up many times throughout the first 6 games, so I'm sure that impact will still be felt as well. We'll take a second to say that the Coach O Show is sponsored by Turkstra Lumber. Do it yourself does not mean do it alone, so visit TurkstraLumber.com to learn more. They have a project coach that can help you with whatever it is, building a new deck, new front door, window replacement, whatever the job is needed around your place. Check out TurkstraLumber.com. Coach, we got Montreal coming into Tim Hortons Field to meet you guys this Thursday night. What are you expecting from Montreal? What are they doing well coming off of their win versus Ottawa?
That's just it. They're coming off a win. I feel like it was a hard-fought game on the road, and they got to be feeling good. It's a division game that they won, and they know that these are big games, and they play hard. You turn on the tape, you see that they play hard. I think their defensive front gets after it. I think they're just solid. And I think they're still finding themselves. They've lost some tough games that they probably feel like they could have won. But as you know, I don't like really speaking on other teams, and I just see what they bring, and they'll come in here with a chip on their shoulder and something to prove, and we do too. And this is the fun. The lead up is fun, and eventually you got to kick the ball off and play the game. And you've been in some of these rivals. You remember some of the you've been in those meeting rooms where maybe I showed a clip or two late in the week about people chirping a little bit and that. And but at the end of the day, they're going to kick the ball off at some point, and that's how the game's going to be decided, not before the game and that sort of thing. It's always going to come down to execution. So I expect them to come in as a confident group, and and we're going to be just as confident. So like I say, let's kick the ball off.
That's great. Yes, I remember a clip that you put on in a meeting room with, I want to say it was you and your team in Hamilton. Was it an Eastern final where you guys went to the Grey Cup and Mark Washington was on the other side of the sidelines? Am I remembering that right?
You were remembering it exactly.
That was a great
right.
one, man. That was cool. And it happened that the coverage of that game, we were watching not the coach's film, but the TV coverage, and you guys both had the spotlight on you. So it was going from Mark Washington to Orlondo Steinauer, like back, and it was very cool, very good. It's inspiring stuff. Makes the hair stand up on your neck. It's fun.
Yeah. Thanks. I remember that. You got a good memory too.
Coach, good stuff, man. Good luck heading into the end of your prep week, and we're looking forward to the kickoff this Thursday night at Tim Hortons Field.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke.
Another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is in the books. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Coach O and Luke are back next week to discuss the latest from the locker room. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.